Hi guys, it's Joey from Elegance Auto Detailing, and we've got another project video today. This one's actually going to be similar to one we've done in the past, but I'm going to go in a little bit more detail with this one, simply because we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Many people who have been following DYC, which is dipyourcar.com, know that about a year and a couple months ago, they came out with a line called AutoFlex, which basically is a pro line that replicates factory paint finishes with the option and the qualities of plastic, meaning you can peel it off whenever you're tired of it. So the color options are pretty much innumerable. You can mix and match anything. There's tint kits, there's pearls, there's actual base colors. There's different finishes with matte, satin, and gloss. So overall, there really is a lot of options. What we're going to be doing that's different is we're going to be taking an option that is not available to the AutoFlex world, and we're going to convert it. So the project itself is the Kaleidoscope Chameleon hood on a Mitsubishi Ralliart that we had previously done in high gloss finish with regular plastidip. What we're going to do now is do it in AutoFlex, but because that pearl or that pigment is not available in powder alone and is only available through the aerosol cans, what we're going to do is we actually have to remove the Kaleidoscope dip from the cans, and then we have to separate the pigment from what is essentially glossifier dip. So that's going to be an interesting process, and then we're going to be just going through the regular process with the AutoFlex, like on the black base. We're going to mix in the pigment with the clear AutoFlex, and then we're going to finish it off with a high gloss top coat. So it's going to be a really interesting project overall. Right now I'm actually headed over to prodip.ca. I'm going to be talking with Mike, who's going to be giving me the supplies that I need. And from there we're going to go back to my shop and we're going to start getting everything prepared to separate the pigment. Now for those of you who are wondering, we've already peeled off a plastidip. I'm going to be posting a link to that video in the description below. And the prep is all done. I've also done tests on how to separate the pigment from the clear plastidip, so I know that this will work. Hey man, how's it going? Pretty good, pretty good.
Your summer mode.
Summer mode, that's right. Shorts in February.
That's right.
So this is the holographic Micro-Flake. That's on. Oh, sparkles. Pretty sure Jose's gonna like that. Alrighty. And then I'm gonna need some Kaleidoscope.
How many you want? One?
Two. Yeah. I did the test where you separate it, and then I mix it into the AutoFlex. It works.
Those?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a long process, but it works.
Okay.
Basically, you have to really let it sit. The pigment falls to the bottom. Pour out all the clear. Fill it up with solvent, and then let it sit. Pour out all the solvent, and then filter it. I use a coffee filter, but I'm probably going to use a paint strainer this time.
They're too big, huh?
The coffee filters?
No, those.
Those, yeah, they're too big. They clog the coffee filter. But with a paint strainer, I think it'll work. Alright, so we are now on the way back to my shop, where we are going to start the process to separate the Kaleidoscope Chameleon plastidip. This is a step that I've already done in the past, but I haven't shown the video. All I've shown was how to empty the aerosol cans, but I'm going to redo that again. So, stick around and enjoy. Here we have the previous dip that peeled off very easily and very cleanly. Alright, so we've now reached the step where we need to start releasing the pressure from the aerosol can so that we can separate the pigment. So I've just pulled out my trusty aerosol release structure, if we can call it that, and I'm just going to pop in the cans, put the brick over it, and let them empty out. So yeah. This is the brand new full can. We're just going to put it in upside down. And we're just going to lay our brick on top of it, which is just going to release the dip. We'll come back in a couple minutes. Alright, so while the second can is just about done emptying, I'm actually going to start opening the first can. You're going to notice that there is still a little bit of pressure that was inside, and it is being released as soon as I create a small opening in the bottom of the can. And there it is, now it's empty. I actually got some pigment that stuck to my finger. I don't know how easily you can see that, but there's a size difference between these pigments. But it's nothing ridiculous. This will actually just give you a little bit more sparkle rather than just the rainbow effect. So I think overall mixing both of these together is going to give a pretty nice look. Right now, as you can see, that there's still some aerosol that was mixed into the solvent that's currently evaporating. That's what all the little bubbling is. And because this is a glossifier based product, the pigment will eventually go and sit at the bottom. This is why we constantly tell people that you really need to mix your aerosol cans, and you have to constantly swirl and mix even your DYC sprayer when you're putting your own pigments in it. So I'm going to let this sit overnight, and the pigments should pretty much sit at the bottom. And then I'm going to use a syringe to pull out as much of the glossifier product as I can. I actually just want to show you right quick what the dried up and dip free pigment actually looks like. You often see some of that in the bottom or in the top of the aerosol cans without it being mixed if you open them up. So this is what it looks like in clumps. I'm going to leave the cans dry overnight, and I'm actually going to be scooping all of that up tomorrow to mix it in with the AutoFlex. Okay, so we are now day 2, and I completely forgot to record the beginning of the process, but I remembered about halfway. So I'm going to show you guys right quick. As you can see right here, all the pigment has sank to the bottom. So we're left with pretty much clear dip up top, which is essentially glossifier. And I've got myself here I guess we can call it a leftover gallon. I just dump all my leftovers in there. And I'm using a sprayer from a 16-ounce bottle to simply pull out the clear from the top. So y'all can see what that looks like real quick. So I'm making real sure not to go all the way to the bottom, so I'm not picking up any pigment. I'm really just getting rid of the clear that's sitting up top. It's a bit of a long process, but in the end, it allows me to get the pigment that I want. So now that I've got essentially just the pure pigment at the bottom of my mason jar, I'm going to fill it up about halfway with mild paint thinner. I'm going to be using Varsol so that we can really thin out the actual dip. I'm going to let the pigment fall back down to the bottom, and then I'm going to extract it the same way with the sprayer until there's basically just solvent and pigment left at the bottom, and then I'll be able to mix it in with the AutoFlex. It won't be a pure AutoFlex, but it'll be close enough that we'll be able to work with it and it's not going to create any issues. Alright, so the pigment in the Varsol solvent actually settled a lot quicker than expected. So I'm actually going to go ahead with the turkey baster to remove all the solvent right now. As you can see, there's a bit of cloudiness simply because the pigment doesn't fall to the bottom as easily, and the really tiny particles stay up. But for the most part, you know, it's all the way at the bottom. I'm going to try and not shake it up too much. And there we have it. Basically, all that's left down there is pigment with a tiny bit of solvent. And when I mix this into the proper quantity of AutoFlex, specifically the clear AutoFlex, there isn't going to be enough solvent to make any issues, and we'll be able to get a pearl that's not available in powder, available in powder and spray form. So yeah, on to the next step. Alrighty, so we've finally got everything ready to go. I'm just about to mix in the clear AutoFlex into the pigment and then throw in the silver holographic metal flake. So let's get to that. Now, although this is clear, the first thing we're going to do is mix it up so that we make sure that we have a uniform and well-mixed solution before getting the pigment in there. Now, because this isn't just straight pearl from a bag, we're not going to be using mixing ratios that are recommended when you purchase the pearls. We're just going to fill up the mason jar at about 3/4 of the way, and then we're going to add in probably about 5 grams of the silver holographic Micro-Flake. And that will be enough, or should be enough, to give us the desired result. Now, the reason why I'm not filling it up all the way is just so that I've got some room to slosh it around and mix everything up. Cap back on. Ooh, it's already looking really good, mixing it all up in there. There's a bit of bubbling in there right now, but I don't know if y'all can see that. See a bit of shimmer on top of the different colors being reflected. This is going to look pretty hot. Now that we're ready to start spraying the black base coat, what we're going to do first is get our gun set up without anything in the hopper, just so we can make sure we can get the pressure down properly. I'm not using anything fancy. This is a $100 spray gun. I believe it's a Bestwell. And I'm going to be spraying out of a 1.7 tip for the base coat, pigment coat. And I'm going to be spraying that at about 35 psi. Since this is an HVLP, it doesn't need to be very high. Just going to use the regulator here. Alright there, locked it in place. There we go. So I'm just going to load this up real quick with the black base coat, and I'm going to start spraying. Alright, so it's time for the final wet coat of the black base. Oops, camera kind of went dead during the last shot. By the time it got back to full charge again, I had time to lay down the first coat of the pigment. So right now we're going to start doing the wet coats of pigment. So I just got done mixing up the clear for the top coat of the AutoFlex. And we're just going to about done mixing it, and we're going to get ready to spray. Okie dokie, so we actually managed to lay down the high gloss clear coat that goes on the AutoFlex. Unfortunately, because of the size of the pigment, there was a lot of the pigment sticking through, which made a bit of a textured look. So instead of actually filming that, the owner of the hood and I, we decided to just sand everything down. Now we got a nice smooth surface, and I'm going to lay another coat, which is what you're going to be seeing in a couple of minutes.